Tonight, we won't speak of monsters or shadows in the woods. Instead, we'll talk about something far more familiar. Something that begins with warmth and sometimes ends in silence. Love. The kind that gives and takes. That heals and wounds. That whispers promises and breaks them quietly. Beneath the roses and smiles, there's another side. A darker one. Possession disguised as passion. Control hiding behind care. Loneliness even in a warm bed. This is not a horror story. It's just human. Welcome to boring time before sleep. Let's gently close our eyes and drift into the quiet tragedy of the heart. Love, a powerful, beautiful emotion that touches our hearts and inspires countless stories, songs, and dreams. But behind the sweet and romantic image lies a darker side, a side of love that isn't always joyful or safe. In this series, we'll explore the dark side of love and relationships, where jealousy, betrayal, emotional manipulation, and deep wounds quietly affect many people, often more than we realize. This is not just someone else's story. It's a reality that many face. Together, we'll dive into real stories, psychological insights, and valuable lessons to better understand how to recognize, overcome, and heal from the shadows in love. Part 1. The illusion of perfect love. Love, it's often painted as the most beautiful, uplifting force in our lives. From fairy tales to romantic movies, love is portrayed as pure, perfect, and eternal. But behind the glittering facade lies a complex reality many rarely discuss: love's dark side. When we fall in love, our brains flood with dopamine and oxytocin, chemicals that create feelings of euphoria and attachment. These feelings create an illusion of perfection. We believe we have found the one, someone who completes us and makes everything right. But this initial passion can cloud our judgment. Many relationships start with intense emotions that feel like magic, but soon reveal a more complicated truth. The idealized image of love can transform into control, obsession, or even fear. What seemed like endless happiness may become suffocating dependency. Psychologists call this the honeymoon phase, a period when lovers see only the good in each other. Yet, this phase inevitably fades, and with it comes the real challenge: navigating differences, conflicts, and vulnerabilities. When people are unprepared or unwilling to face these, love can turn toxic. Toxic attachment forms when one or both partners rely on the relationship not as a source of growth and support, but as a means to fill emotional voids. Instead of freedom, love becomes a cage. Clinginess replaces trust. Passion turns into jealousy. The line between care and control blurs. For example, Emma and Jack started as a fairy tale couple. They were inseparable, constantly expressing affection. But soon, Emma's caring became possessive. She checked Jack's phone, questioned his friendships, and demanded constant reassurance. Jack felt trapped but feared losing her. Their story is not unique. Many relationships descend into patterns where love is overshadowed by insecurity and fear. The illusion of perfect love blinds people to red flags and toxic behaviors until damage is done. Understanding this first dark side, the illusion, is essential. Love is not just butterflies and roses. It requires awareness, boundaries, and sometimes courage to say no when it turns harmful. Part 2. Betrayal and deception. One of the most painful aspects of love is betrayal. When someone you trust breaks promises or hides truths, it shakes the very foundation of the relationship. Infidelity, whether physical or emotional, is a common form of betrayal. But betrayal goes beyond cheating. It can be lies, secrets, or hiding important parts of one's life. Why do people betray those they claim to love? The reasons are complex. Sometimes dissatisfaction, boredom, or unmet needs push someone away from their partner. Other times, fear of vulnerability or past trauma leads to destructive choices. Consider Mark and Lisa. Mark discovered Lisa had been secretly texting an old flame. For Lisa, it was a way to feel desired and escape loneliness. For Mark, it felt like a knife through the heart. Deception destroys trust, the glue that holds relationships together. Once broken, trust is incredibly hard to rebuild. Suspicion replaces openness. Communication becomes guarded. Love, which thrives on honesty, begins to wither. Psychologically, betrayal triggers deep wounds related to rejection and abandonment. It challenges self-worth and shakes our belief in love's safety. Many who experience betrayal carry scars for years, impacting future relationships. The darkest part of deception is its ability to trap people in denial or toxic cycles. Some victims forgive and stay, hoping for change. Others leave, but find it hard to trust again. Understanding betrayal means recognizing it's not just about the act itself, but the emotional tsunami it unleashes. Healing requires time, honesty, and sometimes professional help. Part 3. Emotional abuse and manipulation. While physical abuse is visible, emotional abuse is often invisible, but just as damaging, if not more. It's a hidden darkness in many relationships that slowly eats away at one's sense of self. Emotional abuse involves tactics like gaslighting, where one partner manipulates the other to doubt their own memories or feelings. It includes guilt-tripping, constant criticism, and controlling behaviors disguised as care. Take Sarah's story. Her boyfriend often belittled her opinions, saying she was too sensitive or imagining things. When she confronted him about his hurtful words, he denied it or blamed her for misunderstanding. Over time, Sarah began doubting her own perceptions and felt trapped in a cycle of self-blame. Manipulation is subtle. It may appear as concern or love, but hides a desire for power. Abusers isolate their victims from friends and family, undermine their confidence, and make them emotionally dependent. The effects are profound: anxiety, depression, loss of identity, and even physical health problems. Victims often feel shame and fear, which makes escaping the relationship difficult. Cycles of abuse are common. Periods of remorse and affection, honeymoon phases, alternate with episodes of cruelty. This cycle creates confusion and hope, making it harder for victims to leave. Recognizing emotional abuse requires awareness and courage. It's about understanding that love should not hurt or control, but uplift and respect. Part 4. The chains of jealousy and possessiveness. Jealousy is often called the green-eyed monster, a powerful, destructive force lurking in many relationships. While a little jealousy can be a sign you care, when it grows unchecked, it turns into a toxic trap that binds and suffocates. At its core, jealousy stems from insecurity and fear of loss. When one partner feels inadequate or threatened, jealousy manifests as suspicion and controlling behavior. Instead of trust, jealousy breeds doubt, accusations, and conflict. Take the example of David and Mia. Mia constantly questioned David about where he went, who he met, and how much time he spent away from her. At first, David reassured her, but as Mia's jealousy grew, so did her demands, checking his messages, restricting his social life, and reacting angrily to innocent interactions. Possessiveness often disguises itself as love and protection, but it crosses boundaries into control. It denies the other person freedom and individuality. The relationship becomes less about partnership and more about ownership. Psychologically, possessiveness can be linked to attachment styles developed in childhood. Anxious or fearful attachments make people more prone to jealousy. Past betrayals or abandonment can also fuel these feelings. Breaking free from jealousy requires self-awareness and communication. It means addressing the underlying fears rather than blaming the partner. Healthy love supports independence, trust, and respect, not chains of suspicion. Part 5. The darkness behind codependency. Codependency is a shadowy side of love, where one person's identity becomes so tied to their partner that they lose their sense of self. It's a pattern of unhealthy reliance and sacrifice disguised as devotion. In codependent relationships, one partner often becomes the caretaker or fixer, trying to solve the other's problems at the expense of their own needs. This dynamic creates imbalance, where love feels like obligation rather than choice. Jessica's story reflects this. She stayed with Tom despite his addictions and emotional unavailability, constantly trying to save him. Over time, Jessica's happiness depended solely on Tom's state, and her own well-being suffered. Codependency can develop from early family dynamics, trauma, or low self-esteem. People learn to find value through others, fearing abandonment or rejection if they assert themselves. The danger of codependency lies in losing autonomy and perpetuating toxic cycles. Instead of healing, the relationship becomes a source of pain and frustration. Recovery starts with recognizing codependent patterns, setting healthy boundaries, and rebuilding self-worth. Therapy and support groups often help people rediscover themselves outside the relationship. Part 6. Love addiction and obsession. Love addiction is an intense, compulsive need for romantic relationships, often ignoring red flags or personal well-being. Like any addiction, it's driven by an attempt to fill emotional emptiness or escape pain. Obsessive love feels like a roller coaster of highs and lows, extreme passion, followed by crushing heartbreak. Addicts may repeatedly enter toxic relationships, unable to break free despite suffering. For instance, Alex repeatedly chased after partners who were unavailable or harmful just to feel loved. The temporary rush masked deep loneliness and fear of being alone. Love addiction rewires the brain's reward system, creating dependency on the emotional stimulation love provides. Withdrawal leads to anxiety, depression, and desperation. Breaking free from love addiction requires awareness and professional help. It's about learning to find fulfillment within oneself, not in others. Part 7. Toxic relationships and emotional trauma. Toxic relationships leave emotional scars deeper than visible wounds. When love becomes a source of pain, confusion, and fear, it creates a psychological trap known as trauma bonding. Trauma bonding happens when victims become emotionally attached to their abusers due to cycles of abuse and intermittent kindness. The highs of affection make the lows of cruelty harder to leave. This bond can feel stronger than logic or self-preservation. Consider Rachel's experience. After years of verbal abuse and manipulation, she found it impossible to leave her partner. Each apology and loving gesture rekindled hope, even as the abuse resumed. Toxic relationships foster feelings of worthlessness, anxiety, and depression. Victims may isolate themselves, lose self-esteem, and struggle to trust others. Over time, this emotional imprisonment damages their ability to form healthy attachments. Healing from such trauma requires recognizing the toxicity, seeking support, and rebuilding one's sense of self. Therapy, support groups, and self-care practices are essential tools in recovery. Understanding emotional trauma also helps prevent repeating harmful patterns in future relationships. Part 8. Breaking the Cycle. Hope and Redemption. Despite the darkness, hope exists. Many survivors of toxic love find paths to healing, transformation, and healthy relationships. Breaking the cycle starts with self-awareness, recognizing unhealthy patterns and choosing to change. It means learning to set boundaries, communicate openly, and prioritize one's emotional well-being. Therapy plays a crucial role by helping individuals process trauma, rebuild self-esteem, and develop tools for healthy connections. Support from friends, family, and communities also provides strength. Stories of redemption are powerful. People like Emily, who left an abusive relationship and rebuilt her life with self-love and respect, inspire others. Her journey was not easy, but it proved that the darkness can give way to light. Healthy love is built on mutual respect, trust, and freedom. It encourages growth rather than control. While scars may remain, they become reminders of resilience, not chains. In the end, the dark side of love teaches us valuable lessons about boundaries, self-worth, and the true meaning of connection. By understanding and confronting these shadows, we can create relationships that nourish our souls rather than destroy them. Love is a powerful force that can both build and destroy. The dark side of love and relationships is not something to fear or ignore, but something to recognize, understand, and protect ourselves from. Throughout this journey, we have seen that love is not only about sweetness and passion, but also about growth, self-awareness, and sometimes the courage to heal deep emotional wounds. If you or someone you know is facing challenges in love, remember, seeking help, setting boundaries, and most importantly, loving and valuing yourself first is not wrong. Thank you for joining me in this series. I hope these insights have given you a deeper understanding of love and helped you create healthier, more fulfilling relationships in your life.